Cannot complain.
How's your 401k, Hugh?
Hey, Scott, it was lovely, man.
Not fat enough, apparently, because he's still here.
Yeah, he is still here with us, so I guess it wasn't quite as high as it needed it to be for Hugh to right off into the sunset. So you get to hang out with him.
Now he's chill. He knows he has options. Right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Right, Hugh?
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, options are always great, and Scott, it's nice that the Phillies have a lot of lineup options these days, and that they're scoring more runs and winning more games, and it really has been spurred on. Scott, let's talk about this August by Bryce Harper. It's really been one of the best months he's ever had as a Philly. A .509 on-base percentage, .338 batting average. Scott, what are you seeing from one of the best months we've ever seen from Bryce Harper in a Phillies uniform?
Taking pitches, swinging at good ones, and letting the bad ones go. I mean, his selectivity has been off the charts. And I don't know what has spurred it or what made the difference. I mean, his swing is always usually there. It doesn't deviate much. It's just a matter of whether he's swinging at strikes and swinging at the pitches that he wants to do damage on. And I don't know if it's the addition of a rise behind him, but there is pretty well a line there where somewhere around that time he starts walking a lot more, passing the baton, not chasing. I mean, that to me, that's the big difference, is that he's swinging at the pitches he wants to swing at, by and large. And I think that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, he's been great, and he's been, one of the best hitters in the whole league. And it really kind of coincided, like you said, maybe with the Arise acquisition, and maybe just trust him behind him. Scott, the other end of the spectrum is Trea Turner, who really has had a tough first season, mostly the whole year offensively, some highs, but mostly not great, not his standard, not where we've seen him before. And Scott, I'm just wondering, as I look at the lineup every day, do you think they have any other options there at the top at number 2? Because it feels like when you add a Rise to the mix as the fourth hitter, as a lefty, Schwarber lefty, Harper lefty, Arise lefty, that it almost feels like Turner being a righty is going to keep him there almost regardless of what he does the rest of the way. What's your thought on Turner, the number 2 spot, and if they're almost stuck because they just need a righty there and he's the righty with the most upside?
Well, I do think they need a righty there. I mean, if they're committed to going the other way on, Schwarber leading off and Harp and Arise 3-4, I do think there needs to be a righty. I mean, you could, I guess, make the case Alec Boehm could do it. But then you get Schwarber Boehm, and that's not much speed. That's really clogging the bases. I think they know that the best case scenario is that for Turner to figure it out. And he's got to be able to forget what's happened for the first 4 months. There's nothing that he can do about that. He can only see what he can do to win a game today. And I know he's talked this week about trying to figure some things out, maybe doing things a little bit differently. But I think they just feel like I just think we're going to see him stay there because the other options, either a Boehm or Real Muzzo, if he were hot, not out of the realm of possibilities, I guess. But the other thing is, do you just stack all the lefties there and just say, forget about it? We'll just, maybe against a right-handed pitcher, we just run 5 straight lefties at him. I don't know. That's problematic. So I think they feel like the best case scenario is that Turner figures something out so that he's at least somewhat productive, especially against lefties.
Scott Franzke with us on a Franzke Friday. Scott, let's talk about the pitching, which has been mostly excellent for a while now with the starting pitching, the best run of the 5 of them at a time. But Scott, I guess it's time to ask the question just this way: is Jesús Luzardo the best pitcher on the Phillies now?
That's a good question. He's been the most consistent. I don't think there's any question. His stuff is really good right now. I mean, he went out and dominated the Mariners the other day and told us he wasn't even at his best. He's like, I didn't feel like I had really good command. I didn't, And I'm like, well, if that's less than your best, my goodness, what does your best look like? Obviously, they got to get Wheeler figured out. Not like he's, totally lost or anything, but they've got to figure him out. Sanchez could be a little more consistent. Too many walks here of late. So he has been their best starter. But if you're going to ask me next, does he start game one of a playoff series? I don't know. I think that's going to be you got another month to make that decision.
Scott Franzke with us. Scott, speaking of the pitcher, you just mentioned Zack Wheeler. A real struggle, and it's been a struggle for a while, but certainly the game on Monday in Seattle, very uncharacteristic. In fact, he had more walks than strikeouts in that game, which I can't ever remember Zack Wheeler start having. And, Scott, we had a caller a couple days ago who referenced and was wondering if the game against the Blue Jays, the Chase Utley night, where they were kind of talking about and wondering if he was not on the mound and was he, kind of skirting the rule a little bit there. His walks have really jumped since then. If that is either affecting him, maybe got in his head. Your thought on that and just what's up with Wheeler? Because it's not just the results. He's just not commanding anything. It's just so unlike him.
I don't think that's necessarily it. And the reason I say that is because it was actually brought to the Phillies' attention long before that. From, behind the scenes, the league reached out to them. I think it was the Mets who first said something about it in late June. So it was definitely something that was on their radar. Now, obviously that night made it public, but we had already seen him. He had a bad night in Miami in late July, looked pretty good for 2 innings in Baltimore. But again, there's a lot of these games where he's looked pretty good for 2 innings and then hit a wall. I think, judging by what they're saying, is that maybe they feel like there's a couple of small tweaks, arm slot related, because again, the stuff is there. He's just missing slightly. And so I don't have a huge level of concern about it. I do feel like they're going to figure it out for him. But they, obviously they need to do it pretty quickly because they need him. They can't just have that, 5-6 runs in 5 innings and expect to win a ball game.
Scott, tonight, Andrew Painter going to be on the mound against the Angels, and boy, he's turned things around. I remember the day we had you on when we just found out he was coming back, pitching up on that Friday in Baltimore. We were like, all right, let's hope. And since then, he's been good. In fact, the last few starts, it feels like I'm starting to say wow as I watch him. It just feels like the pitcher we were told and thought he could be, we're starting to see some of it. What's been the difference that you've noticed recently with him and why he's been so good?
Well, a better fastball, for one. He's getting out on his, he's not late. His body wasn't trailing. He's, mechanically speaking, he's tilting his shoulders and he's flying open. And now he's getting down the mound better. So the fastball has more life. It has more jump at the end. That backspin that, kind of rises up over the bat. So he's got that going for him. The changeup, I think, has been big. Not only is it a good pitch, he feels better about commanding it than he did his splitter. And I think having those two pitches to play off each other, his curveball, his sweeper, his breaking balls were fine already. It was the fastball and the off speed that he was just getting nothing out on that. And now, to me, that's such a huge difference. His confidence is up. That's great for any young kid. He's really turned his whole trajectory around with a few, small tweaks. He put in some work, and give him some credit because he did the work, and give the Phillies pitching guys some credit. They figured out a few things. Maybe that might help him, and so far it has.
Scott, last one for you. Angels this weekend, and then you guys go to Arizona to start next week. And that feels like a really, really big series when you think about the standings. And I feel like the Phillies have done a good job the last few weeks against the Marlins, against the Cardinals. Teams are kind of on the periphery of this thing and really kind of pushing them backwards with those sweeps. Another chance, Scott, to do it to the team chasing them the most, which is Arizona. That feels like a huge series starting on Monday against the Diamondbacks.
It is a big series because you already lost 2 out of 3 to Arizona earlier in the year. So technically at the moment they're holding the tiebreaker over you. Not to say you got to come away with a sweep or anything like that, because if you take 2 out of 3, again, you knock them back a little bit, and then maybe the tiebreaker doesn't come into play. But yeah, it's a big series. I don't think there's any question about it. You got that, and I guess Atlanta around the corner. So if you can't overlook the Angels, of course, any team in the majors can beat you. So you got to go, it's like going to Minnesota. You got to take care of business, and hopefully they can do that tonight. But Monday through Wednesday should be big.
Yeah, they will, and we'll be listening tonight and all week next week. Scott, thank you for hopping on. Enjoy L.A., and we'll catch up before the Braves series next week.
All right, sounds good.
There we go. There you go. Scott Franzke with the Phillies there. Yeah, the Luzardo thing, I mean, the way he said it, Hugh, I mean, he's right. The most consistently good pitcher for the Phillies for months now has been Luzardo.
Yeah, and it's been quietly under the radar because, you know, when you talk about what Wills was able to do early on and then he kind of fell off a little bit in Sanchez, he's been pretty decent.
Yeah, you know, they have to make the playoffs first. They got to check all these boxes. But that decision they're going to have on who's going to start game one is going to be fascinating because it's the guy that was the best in June and July, Wheeler, the guy that was best in May and April, Sanchez. The guy that's best right now in this moment, to me, is obviously Jesús Luzardo. He'd be my game one starter. 215-592-9494. For back to all your phone calls and takeaways from the midday show fantasy football draft, including that aforementioned fifth-round pick by Hugh Douglas that had the whole draft room shaking. What was Hugh telling us yesterday and all the nonsense that happened last night? It's the Midday Show. A lot to talk about. Sports Radio 94 WIP.
It's the final week of the preseason, so let's take a look at the latest Pro Football Injury Report presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. Philadelphia's first-round draft pick. He practiced this week. Is he going to play in the final preseason game? We don't know. And Philadelphia's star receiver. He's back at practice this week. I'm pretty sure the quarterback is happy about that. That's today's injury report presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, the only sportsbook to reward every bet. Download the app today. Injuries are a part of football, but they shouldn't automatically bust your bet. That's why Fanatics Sportsbook is the home of fair play, protecting all player prop